Steve Davis Show is proudly presented by Dave and Buster's.
Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show. Special guest today is Brian Colón, mayor candidate. And Brian, I'm on your busy schedule. Thanks for coming on the Steve Davis Sports Show and coming in and hanging out with me.
Hey, I'm pleased to be here. This is a great studio. It's been here several times. I'm always impressed with what you do here. So thanks, Steve.
I tell you, you know, I just got to know. I'm one of these guys that kind of sits back in the background whenever I'm in public or whatever, and I observe and watch. And you know, I got to go to lunch with you at Artichoke Cafe, and
right.
and I listened to you speak. I didn't know anything about Brian Colón. I knew a little bit about your past endeavors in the political world, and I just sat in awe. Truthfully, I was just sitting in awe with. You know, we had some pretty influential people of different demographics, and people were throwing questions left and right at you, and you kept your composure, and it was a small little room, and so anyway, I was impressed. It was neat to sit, and then actually I got to even sit next to you. I was kind of worried that I might throw some food on you or throw some stuff like that on you, but
that was a great lunch. That was a great lunch. Lots of dynamics going on, and at the end of the day, if you're passionate about Albuquerque and you want to lead, I think that this city is willing to have a conversation. And I think now more than ever, we have to have a leader in Albuquerque who's willing to convene that conversation. And that's what happened there at the Artichoke. We convened a great conversation. Not everybody was like-minded and of one political view or another, right?
It was really interesting. And like I said, my agenda is sports and kids
Sure.
and things like that. It's and how we develop them. That's been my my lifelong stance of what I've done. And I'm just,
right.
But then you try to fit all the dynamics that really what a mayor's responsibility is. It's pretty, I was like sitting here, wow, I think I'm overwhelmed a lot of time with Proview networks, and I'm sitting here, wow, you have all these, the police department, education, you got almost everything right at your own hands, and you got to be educated in all those and be able and well versed to be able to carry conversations on with those guys that have the same passion I do about what they're doing.
That's exactly right. And I have to tell you that the community has really educated me on what's important to the community. I've spent probably the past year, I announced this campaign for mayor back on January 25th of this year, but long before that, Steve, I started going to neighborhood association meetings and coalition meetings and community policing council meetings and just listening, because I think before you can lead, you have to listen, and I think that's what you give your viewers an opportunity to do, is listen.
Well, I tell you, and I'm, like I said, I'm very detailed. I act like I'm low key in there, but I watch, and I'm very detailed about people. And I just remember I said, look, it'd be fun to have you come on, and the Steve Davis Show, and one just to talk about. I'm not a political guy, get down to the X's and O's
Sure.
of the table things that are going, but I said, let's can I put you on the calendar? And you pulled up your telephone, and it was like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and that was 4 weeks ago, and I can imagine what it is compared to today.
Well, it's a robust calendar, but we finished last night around 10:30 with the last meeting that I had, and people at that meeting said, how do you still have so much energy? We know that your first meeting today was at 8 o'clock. So literally it was 14 and a half hours later. And I got to tell you, Steve, I was just as energized and just as excited about this campaign as I was for the first meeting of the day. And it puts oxygen in my blood cells, I tell people. The way athletes feel when they get out on the court or they get out on the field, that's how it is for me every day when I get out of bed and I get to tell people about my passion for the city, my vision for the city, how much I care about our city and building a safe city and a smart city, and what that actually means to me, and hopefully what it means to the next generation of young people that are going to build their families and make this their community.
And to go on one step further with who you are and what you are, without any of your political beliefs or anything like that, is last week I put it on the calendar and I was like, well, I better, I called J.C. Lopez, get your phone number, and I said, well, J.C., you call. He said, no, Steve, why don't you just call him? I go, I can call Brian and actually talk to him, and he goes, yeah. He says, just call Brian. So sure enough, I call and you answer. I mean,
right.
And it didn't go to the voicemail and it didn't come to the deal. It said, and I said, look, are we still good for Tuesday? And he says, oh yeah, Steve. And then
You bet.
And then yesterday, the first of the week, you called and said, hey, can we change the time? And I said, yeah, we'll move the schedule around. And then yesterday you called and said, hey, left a message and said, can I come on the original time because of something didn't, in fruition didn't happen for you. And I call my guy to make sure it was okay. That Josh is, he's kind of like the workhorse, and sometimes he gets a little changing the schedule around and everything. I thought I'd call him, and I called you back, and you answered. And anyway, that's you and you actually apologized for changing your schedule, and I thought, wow, that's somebody I want to, that you can just communicate with and has concern about my schedule. Absolutely. And has good thoughts about what we're trying to do at Proview Networks.
Well, Steve, I have a rule. If I have to bump somebody on the schedule or if I have to cancel a meeting, which is very infrequent, but if I do that, I'm going to be the one to call because I think the personal apology for that inconvenience is important. Relationships matter more than anything in this community, and I feel like I've spent a lifetime building relationships, and when I meet people I care about and that are passionate about the city like you are, Steve, I want to make sure and maintain those relationships. And I know that you had said that 9 o'clock was your sweet spot. We pushed out on my schedule, and then when things open up so I can come back to your sweet spot, I wanted to give you an opportunity to do that. And it's just great to be in studio. I am so impressed with what you do, and what you do is you give a platform for an opportunity for families to really feel engaged, and really for young people to be inspired. When they can look at your show and they can think about whether it's the game of the week or whatever it is you're working on at a given moment in time, you're highlighting our youth. You're telling our story, which I have to say that it's the thing that we've got to do better every day. We don't tell our story in Albuquerque. Far too often we focus on being at the bottom of the good list and the top of the bad, and for me, I want to celebrate your work because you do just the opposite. You highlight the excellent things going on in our community and the beautiful things happening in our families and in our community. So thank you for doing that.
And one thing we take a lot of pride in is it's all about the positive of the students.
Right.
I don't think, we have never aired anything negative.
I love that.
And in the 10 years we've had, you think about it, we've had fights on the deal, but guess what? We cut them off. I mean, we've had we've had the major networks call, hey, can we get a copy of that fight? And they go, sorry, if it went to the MMA, it went to APS, or it went to the Coaches Association. You need to talk to them because we have nothing. We're not going to show it. And
that's what I mean. You tell the good side of our story, and for whatever reason, we don't do that often enough. So thank you for doing it.
As you know, in your life, and as still, coaches on the high school level and on the youth level, they work for nothing. I mean, they do it for the passion of what they believe in their life, and it's so neat to see those. I don't want to see them get beat up over something that happened, one little incident in a thing, mess up their whole all the good things they've done in their life for the sports.
Well, Steve, to your point, if you look back and growing up, and I went to Mission Elementary here in Albuquerque, and all through my educational career, it's like here I sit 47 years. I'm 47 years old.
I didn't think you were a day over 46.
You're very kind. You're very kind. You're Mr. Charmer this morning. But I'll just tell you, 47 years old, and when I look back at the giants in my life, they're educators, they're coaches, they're people who took an interest in me, and I think the thing about sports is that it gives individuals an opportunity to really engage with a young person in a way that is so affirming and that builds self-esteem in such a special way. It's irreplaceable, and you change people's lives. You know, my wife, I think I've told you, my wife is a civil engineer. She's got a master's in math, but she is passionate about young people, and so she is an educator in the International District. She's been teaching at Van Buren Middle School for the past 17 years. She's a nationally board certified teacher, Golden Apple Teacher of Distinction, and she's amazing. And I sometimes joke with people and say, you know, I had to go to law school so she could afford to be a teacher. But for her, it's about changing children's lives. And she knows that a word of encouragement in the classroom, a word of encouragement out on the field for those kids, that's outcome determinative sometimes, because in many circumstances, particularly in Albuquerque, when you have families struggling in poverty, that positive affirmation doesn't come if it doesn't come from the educators and the coaches in our community. So I just want to say thanks to them, and thanks to my bride, but also thanks to all those coaches out there.
Well, Brian, we're going to go to the top 10 plays of the week, and we'll come back. We're going to talk more about Brian Colón and the mayor's race.
That's awesome, Steve. Thank you.
Just crash forward with it. Is it a touchdown? They're signaling it.
Lynch cuts it back. Lynch easy does it. Goal number 1 for the Lobos this morning. Jennings far pulls, and she's got side net. Look at this! A quick start for the Lobos. 1-0.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real.
to. Jeez. Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. We got Brian Colón running for the mayor, and Brian, you know, and help me out here. You did a little fundraiser on Central. Help me with the name.
Zulo's Bistro.
And it was actually Johnny Tapia was the we have JC Lowe. We always have to make an appearance. I mean, but
JC's everywhere, man. That guy's
he'd come in, but you know what? We got into his bowling, okay?
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
You know where you're at. He's got a bowl and keep him for Nick. But
got to get to his league.
But you were doing a little fundraiser for yourself, and Teresa Tapia was there,
yep.
and that, I think that hits home with any New Mexican,
Sure. Especially Albuquerque resident, right? I mean, talk about, sometimes I say I want to be Albuquerque's #1 ambassador. The truth of the matter is, I'll still be #2, because there was no better ambassador than Johnny when it came to promoting Albuquerque. That guy, it never mattered where he was, where he went, what he accomplished, whatever achievement he was celebrating, he always remembered that Albuquerque was his home and it was a community, and while he struggled, he never lost his love for Albuquerque, and that's the beauty of Johnny Tapia. And Teresa, you know, she's amazing. I mean, Hall of Famer herself, just an incredible woman who was way beyond her years. I mean, she was just a giant in a man's world. Frankly, she was one of the first women in a man's world when it came to managing Johnny.
Well, it's funny. My life is funny. It's like, I mean, I've had a great life. Okay, so I get to talk to people like yourself and coaches and players,
Sure.
and I was a former New Mexico guy, and so it's in my blood,
Yep.
and so. You know, that week she was actually on the Legacy Sports Boxing. Okay,
Yep.
and on that it was you had I think I remember correctly, it was Tuesday night, and she was here on Monday night, and we had a little. The video was done right here in our studio, like the day before or whatever.
Amazing, right?
And we took it over and actually was played during that. And
that's right.
But to meet her on Monday to get and you surprised. I was just going over because it was 2 doors down from 519 Central.
Sure.
And I said, nah. JC told me, hey, you might want to come by and go there. I said, sure, I'll go over there and find out we've been helping them try to get their business going. So
Sure.
it was all. I just met them the week before, and they told me you were coming in. So I said, oh, all right, we'll be there. But here's what you're amazing about. I like to do this. So if you don't want to run for mayor, okay, and if you don't want to be in the, you know what? I saw you in split seconds become, when Johnny Tapia, you got to speak, and you became a play-by-play announcer, and you were unbelievable. Here's Johnny Tapia, and he just went into it, and then in the spur of the moment, you became an auctioneer. I mean, in a bidder, and I'm like, I wished I would have had that on film. I was mad at myself, and I was mad, like, you know, why didn't I have somebody here? That was priceless. I just want to let you know. And then Jack B. Hill was on the other end of it, that bought the gloves and the thing. But you were a classic the rest of my life, that will stick in my mind as one of the off the wall greatest moments. I see somebody talking political, deal, and then all of a sudden he becomes a play-by guy here. Heroin in the ring. We have Johnny Tapia and he weighing 145 or whatever it was. And I'm like, and I don't even know if you even remember you even doing that, but it just blew me away. And then your sister came over, and she for some reason she thought I was important or something like that.
Well, you are important.
she just
I'm
came.
glad she got to meet you.
No, she came over and she says, "You've been sitting here all night and you haven't said a word." And I said, "No, I'm kind of new to this situation." But she says, "But everybody's come over and said hello to you." And I go, "Well, I don't know why, but because I'm a sports guy. I've been around the whole." But I go, "Look, it's funny. Teresa was in the building. The city lets us use, and 2 days ago, and now I'm getting to actually sit and talk with her, and then all of a sudden I get to see Johnny Tapia's gloves.
That's amazing.
And
all the belts.
And they gave that to you. I mean,
they did. Teresa's been so good to me. She's,
those items are.
They're priced. They're very valuable, obviously. But here's the very touching thing, and Teresa's team, one of her colleagues that she travels with, actually caught this on film. I didn't realize they were filming, but you did such a great job with that video. I didn't know you did that, but I will tell you that the way you.
A lot of people don't know a lot of things.
No, that's great, but I'll just tell you that montage was so touching. It was a very.
Trust me,
powerful.
I didn't do it. The guy back in the office.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
Josh gets the credit on that.
I don't want to get the.
Way to go, Josh.
And you know what? And he was like, "Oh, I got to get another one on a deadline." And he's like yelling and screaming at me. Okay.
So Josh, let me just tell you, Josh. This is honest to goodness truth, and Therese has it on video. Oh, let me just take a step back. Therese never has been involved in politics. She made it real clear to me. We went out for dinner one night, sat down and visited. She says, "Look, I want to do anything I can to help you be the next mayor of the city of Albuquerque. I believe in you in a way that no one else has ever allowed me to believe before." She said, "I've never been involved in politics. I don't know how to help, but if you give me some opportunities to, I want to help." So that's the kind of the backstory. She's never been involved in supporting a candidate before. So for me, it's a very personal deal.
You know what?
Very personal. But let me just get Josh out, because Josh should know this. It's like that night. So that's the backstory. But that night when they played that montage, I was standing here, and the montage is playing on the big screen there, and
that's a pretty big word for me. You got to get it.
All the clips that Josh put together. But it was just so touching, and it kind of ended and kind of climaxed when Johnny talked about you can have millions of dollars, but really what matters is a hug from a child. What really matters is family. What really matters is community. And literally, I couldn't help it, and I started crying. And my dad.
A little emotional.
It was very emotional for me. My dad was a huge boxing fan. I mean, I buried my dad when he was 49 years old. I was 19 years old, and I lost my dad. And there are very few moments in time that I can remember with my dad that were soft moments. But I always saw a fun side of my dad. He was always in pain because of the muscular dystrophy. He was always in pain. So my dad wasn't kind of the jokey, happy. He was, with us, it was always pretty serious. But when there was a fight on, man, my dad, you could just see the happy side of my dad. For those moments in time, he wasn't in pain. He was living life and he was enjoying it. So for me, that connection with boxing and my father, and then
Johnny Tapia was in that era when he was
right when he was passing, and right when he was getting started, right when he became a champ, and so for me, all that was a
highlight of his. I mean, that was something he was holding on to see the next fight.
It was amazing. So that night will be a highlight of the campaign for me. Regardless of outcome, we start on January 25th. We're going to end on November 7th. Hopefully take office on December 1st. But regardless of the outcome of the campaign, that particular evening at Zulo's will always be very significant for me.
Well, it was for me. I mean, I'll remember that to this day. I mean, whatever happens in here in the next 2 or 3 months is going to be. It was actually a highlight because I've never really, like I said, I've never gone to anything, and I just went in and I'm more curious about how things happen and operate,
the interactions.
and their interactions, and who's trying to, and talk to who, or who wants water, and Dylan, and you just walked in, and everybody it was just like, just another guy coming in just to hang out with the guys. And
that's it.
On a basketball team or whatever, just, hey, Brian's here, let's have a good time, let's talk about old times, let's talk about what we're going to do in the future, and what everybody's trying to get accomplished.
That's right. And how about those kids taking pictures with all those champion belts? Teresa just spared no inconvenience. She went all out. We had all his belts there. She let the kids hold them. She let the kids take pictures with him. I mean, the big kids and the little kids, right? Like JC's in there taking pictures with those belts. And she is just such a wonderful lady. And I could not be more excited that she's now back in Albuquerque.
Well, here's my point was they were carrying those belts right outside, and I'm like, are you? I mean, these things are like, priceless.
That's right.
I mean, Johnny Tapia's what he's done, and his legend will even get bigger and bigger, and it's already happened. I mean, it's kind of like Elvis Presley in a way in the city
40th anniversary.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're like. And then to watch, I got a good friend of mine that I grew up in high school named Dick Hunsaker, went on and coached at Ball State, and and then was at Utah State with Mountain West Coach of the Year. I mean, he's got credentials, and I'm probably butchering right now, and I'll probably get a little talk about it, get a text message on it, but him and we got to go watch him fight in Vegas, and
oh wow.
And I can say this: there's not a lot of things that impress Dick Hunsaker. He was in awe after that, and Johnny lost the fight. I think it was fought to Pacquiao. He lost the fight, but the way both fighters went at it, and on a lightweight, he to this day he'll remember Johnny Tapia.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. And he's not he just went to the fight, and he's kept up with Johnny Tapia's career.
Well, the next chapter in that story is great, Steve. So you might recall we had Jason and Jody, a phenomenal artist, rock carver. He carved this beautiful image of Johnny with his fists raised and his Mi Vida Loca and his beautiful tattoo of the Virgen de Guadalupe on his chest. You'll recall Johnny's tattoos. And he carved that image into the stone. And he then donated it to the campaign to auction off that night and brought several $100s. But here's the beautiful part of that story. That piece of artwork, the person who bought it and gave a very substantial donation to the campaign, he wants to donate it back to the city of Albuquerque so that they can actually install it at Wells Park, which is
his home.
It's his home, and the Tapia Community Center there at Wells Park, and as you know, it was renamed, and they're getting ready. I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but I understand that in September we're going to get to see the next generation of Tapias fight right here in Albuquerque.
Wow.
So I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag.
Well, I tell you, and that's something that. Here's what I guess I am a Johnny Tapia and a Romero fan. Okay.
Oh sure.
Okay.
Let's never let. And Danny, God bless him. He continues to serve this community and continues to invest in this community. Continues to try and change children's lives and break the cycle of poverty and break the cycle of generation after generation not embracing education. That guy puts his money where his mouth is. He's got his sweat equity in it, and for that guy, it's very personal. And I'm grateful to Danny for all he does with the Hideout Gym and all that.
We're going to come back to Danny Romero after our little break. We're going to talk more about you and your campaign.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real.
So with the big matchup between the El Dorado Eagles and the La Cueva Bears, time to make my pick here on the Proview Rundown. I'm going to go with the El Dorado Eagles. You know, I'm going to change my decision, and I'm going to go with the La Cueva Bears. They're feeling it. All right, hey, calm down. Guys, you do it every time. This is ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to be in makeup. Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Davis Show. Got Brian Colón running for mayor, and you know, we were talking about, you know, Danny Romero, and you know, my story is that you know, he bought a house that I lived in, and actually put their gym in, and I got to follow his career. And
awesome.
And you know, the classic, you know, the Danny Romero and the Tapia fight, and the passion from both sides of the cultures was, you know, to this day the Pit probably never seen that much passion.
I think that's right. Those 2 young men, they did a lot for our community, some in life and some in death, and they continue to serve our community. And I really hold Danny in high esteem. I really appreciate what he does for the young kids. I don't know if you've been able to go out to the hideout, but
you know what? I've lost touch. You know, but you know, he went to the Gladiators game, and he came up, and I'm like, I didn't know if he remember me. And he came over and
come on, Steve, you're unforgettable, dude.
And I came over, and his dad was there, and him. We just talked about the old times, and everybody's like, how do you know Danny Romero? You know, like I'm saying, well, no, he actually, you know, his gym.
He built his house.
Yeah, and then they remodeled it, and had. And he, I don't know if he even remembers, but I went back in, and he had one room with all of his trophies and all of his things, and it was just a great. And then the bottom line is just the humble, so that he carries, and for his greatness that what he does. So
I think that's right. And again, like you, he's passionate about our young people in this community, and passionate about making sure they have something to engage in that's positive, whether it be in the gym or on the field. Both of you have that same passion point, that same purpose, right? And we're all looking for purpose, and you found it in these children, and trying to make sure they have a place to engage in a positive environment. And Danny does the same thing every day. I mean, and I'm grateful.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, now we're going to talk a little bit more, you know, give us a little bit of background. How'd you get here?
Sure. Well, it's not a likely story. I grew up, like so many people in Albuquerque, I grew up in difficult circumstances. Both my parents were disabled, and we required every government assistance program out there, whether it was food stamps or blocks of cheese, powdered milk, Section 8 housing. I mean, we needed it all for survival. And my father was very sick. He had muscular dystrophy, and literally every day of my youth, I watched him deteriorate until I buried him when he was 49 years old. And the thing about it is, Steve, when I buried my father, I really became an island unto myself in in New Mexico. I didn't have a single blood relative. And people say, why are you running for mayor? Well, one of the reasons I'm running for mayor is because I feel very, very strongly that I could have, at any given moment in time, and should have really fallen through the cracks. And for me, community filled the gap. People like you who take interest in young people and say, I'm going to be your mentor, or I'm going to stand in that gap so that you don't fall through. And organizations in town, whether it was the Elks Club or the American Legion or the Seroptimist or the Optimist Club or the Kiwanis, all these organizations stepped up with little scholarships so I could be the first in my family to go to college. So I could be the one that tried to break the cycle of poverty in my family that we'd known for so long. And as I sit here today, you know, this is my 17th year of practice now. And I met my incredible wife 22 years ago, and we got married, and she got me focused like a laser beam. I was living down in Las Cruces, going to school at New Mexico State.
We won't hold that against you.
All right, thank you very much. Many people say, then I saw the light and I came to UNM, right? I saw the light. So I did my undergraduate work down there in Las Cruces, and then came up here to go to law school and graduated in 2001. So here I am 16 years later. And really what I'm passionate about is building a safe city and a smart city where the next generation of Albuquerque residents can be proud to call this their home. You know, I've got a son. We talk about one generation out from poverty in my family. My son's a very proud Albuquerque High Bulldog. He graduated there from Albuquerque High. He's completely bilingual. He's got a little bilingual seal on his diploma. He was a selfless senior, a great young man, and he's now on a presidential scholarship at George Washington University studying biomedical engineering.
I think he's got a good mom.
He does. You remember I talked about her. She's brilliant, and she's to credit. But you know, when you think about it, when we want to change lives and we want to change families and the place they are today and where they want to be tomorrow, like one generation out from poverty, it's like Section 8 housing. One generation later, you have somebody studying biomedical engineering on a presidential scholarship at GW. That's remarkable. Now, here's the problem. We don't currently have a city where he's convinced he wants to raise his family. And that's the story of so many families in Albuquerque. Your neighbors, my neighbors, our children are not convinced that Albuquerque is a place where they can feel safe, where they can have economic opportunities, right? So for me, this is personal. It's about community, but it's also personal. I want to live in a city where my son's convinced that Albuquerque is the place where he wants his children to be raised. Albuquerque is a place where he wants to build his career because we've embraced entrepreneurship, we've embraced the technology sector, we've embraced the bioengineering sector as a sector that can be one that's important to our economy. And we've got the labs, and we've got the Research One institution in UNM. We've got we've got the largest educational institution in the state in CNM with some great leadership. You got Kathy Winograd there, who's a trailblazer. There's nothing that she doesn't believe she can do with that institution. She is so proud of the students and so excited about the opportunity she's presenting to them. And that's why I'm running. People say, why are you doing it? It's like, I got a debt. I got a debt to this community that embraced me when I should have fallen through the cracks, and I can never repay it, but I tell people I'm going to die trying. And I've also got the next generation of Albuquerque potential citizens who I want to make this the home for their families. That's why.
Well, my story is funny. It's just the opposite. I'm from Clovis, New Mexico, and I had the opportunity to go to Texas.
That's where you get that good cadence.
Yeah, that's why I can't do the R's. I can't roll the R's. I just can't get that done. Okay. Right. I know. And so I was, Norm Ellenberger and Wisnett at that time. They embraced me, and Albuquerque was growing. I thought this is the land of opportunity. I mean, like coming across the mountain. Sure. I felt that way. Sure. And I was going, there's no place I will ever want to live. And my thoughts was, it's, airport, you're 2 hours, 3 hours, you're 2 hours from the ocean, you're 3 hours from anywhere you want to be. California, if you want to go to Texas, you can be in, or you want to be in Phoenix or whatever. Right. But you still don't have that. It's home,
It's home. And we talk about this all the time, but there's no place else in America where you can go for a jog in the morning and go skiing in the afternoon.
or have 4 different weather changes in one
That's
day.
Right. That's right. You know, yesterday morning it was kind of drizzly out, and everybody was worried we weren't going to get to see that incredible eclipse. But by afternoon, by 10:30, 11 o'clock, it was perfect.
So did you actually get to watch it?
I did. I stepped outside for just a minute.
In your busy schedule, you had 30 seconds to look at it.
I had 6 different stops yesterday during the day, but I did, on one of those stops, I got outside to take a look with the solar eclipse glasses that I was told that I had to wear, and I wore them. I was compliant. I'm kind of a rule follower. And I put on my solar glasses, and it was great.
So I just cheated. I just turned on the TV, and my eyes were fine.
That's right.
And
Lely was able to live stream it in her classroom for the kids that couldn't go outside. She had it on her computer, and NASA had a live stream, and it was a great day. It was a great day. They say it doesn't cross like that, I guess, but once every century or so, the way it made its path for the full eclipse.
Right.
So I mean, it's a big deal.
So right now, you gave us a little history of why you're running, and I was kind of upset when I heard this stat, and you can help me. It's like, only 18% or so people vote for the mayor's race.
Yes.
Is that? Am I a little off base, or about?
It's a little better than that, but not much. I mean, I'm excited that I think we have a very robust field of candidates. We have a new runoff system.
I tell you what, great candidates. I mean yourself. Right. I can just go down the list. I mean, they're good people. They got deal. It's not one of these races. You got to really, that's what you're doing. You're campaigning to let people know your strong ports.
That's right. And I think this is one of those races where you've got a great field of candidates. I think we're all going to have our GOTV, or get out the vote efforts. I'm hopeful that this cycle will have some better voter performance. I think that's why I make the time to come out to Proview. I think it's why I'm hitting the streets as hard as we are every day, because there's nothing more important to the future of the city of Albuquerque than who's going to lead. Because I think really we're ready. Like we're exasperated as a community. We're exasperated about crime. I received 2 more text messages from small business owners this morning, Steve, about break-ins last night. Yesterday, my friends that have break-ins
all over the city. There's no really safe place.
No, it's unbelievable.
I don't want to say that, but I'm just saying. You think it used to when I got here it was in the valley, be careful.
Right.
Now it's northeast. It doesn't matter.
Well, we are in an epidemic. I mean, that's just it. We've got gangs and drugs that are driving crime. We've got mental health, behavioral health, addiction issues that are not being addressed in this community because we don't have the services for those individuals. So we see that revolving door, and it's time for the mayor to say, I'm sticking my foot in that door. It's not going to be a revolving door anymore. We've got to get the stakeholders to the table and stop the insanity, right? So when I talk to people in this community, it's all about crime all the time. And it's about rebuilding the trust that's been broken between the rank and file officers, the women and men on our streets of Albuquerque charged with protecting our neighborhoods, and the administration. That trust has been broken. I mean, it has been severely damaged. Then we've got to rebuild the trust between the city of Albuquerque's residents and APD. So I feel like I've got the right profile to bring people together and to say, we're going to lead. We're going to make sure that we give the officers the resources they need to patrol our streets. We're going to give them the staffing they need to be safe on our streets while they're doing their job. And we're also going to make sure that we have constitutional community policing going on so that we can rebuild that trust with the community. For me, there's no more important agenda item than that. That's why I've led. On January 25th, I rolled out my platform, and it was Safe City, Smart City. It was about making sure that we rebuild our community as it relates to public safety, and also leveraging our opportunities and building a city in a smart way. A smart city means that we're leveraging technology opportunities. We're leveraging our creative culture. We've got so many wonderful artists and musicians in Albuquerque, but again, back to what we said 30 minutes ago, we don't tell our story very well. So for me, I can't wait to be that individual that's out there telling our story and empowering individuals to take their game to the next level, so to speak.
Well, Brian, we're going to come back. We're going to talk more about, I got some points I want to bring up, and that might be scary if I bring up some points.
Hey, no, we're ready.
We'll be ready.
Put me in, Coach. I'm ready.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Altitude Sports Grill is where Albuquerque sports fans won't miss a game. With locally crafted brews on tap and refreshingly crisp cocktails. Located in Hotel Cascada, Albuquerque residents find a staycation worth staying for. Catching Lobo sports, enjoying a beer on the beach, or wiping out, Hotel Cascada is home to your urban adventure. Affordable guest rooms, no hassle water park parties, and much more.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
What do these interns even do on their break, man?
I don't even know. It's probably way too crazy.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf dart tag games, from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting two teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Day Show. I'm having a great time here with Brian Colón and actually talking a little bit of politics, which I have no clue about. And anybody that knows me, but I have I think the biggest word in this whole thing you've said is leadership, and I think I'm speaking probably maybe out of context, but is the one man can't change the city, but he can make the leadership change the city. Does that make sense?
I think that's right.
Okay.
I think good leaders are able to convene, engage folks in a conversation, identify the agenda, and then move forward. And the key in moving forward is making sure that all those people that were convened, all those stakeholders, they got to stay at the table. And for me, that's what I've been passionate about doing all my life, whether it's in my law practice where I've mediated cases to get them resolved, or whether it's been in the nonprofit sector, or whether it's been with the chambers, or whether, whatever it is I do. I mean, I'm passionate about keeping people engaged and not sending people to the sides. And you talk about politics, and for me, the mayor's race, the beauty of the mayor's race is it's nonpartisan. So we have people that are Republicans and Democrats and nonpartisan individuals who decline to state what their party affiliation is, and they're all part of our campaign. And that's the beauty of what we're trying to do. We're saying enough politics. It's about community. It's not about politics.
And that's funny you say that word, community. I mean, now I'm older. I'm not going to reveal my age or anything I think as you get older, that's the biggest thing that you want is the community. And I see myself engaged more in my whole. I never thought I would be in the community of how I can help without being a hindrance.
Sure.
I mean, people, a lot of times they have their agenda. I just want everybody I want sports. I want, when we took on Proview, it was like when we first started, nobody said it would happen. And I said no, and then it was when we took it on, we didn't have the infrastructure where it buffered. It was bad, and people were calling me, telling me how bad I was, and telling me how negative it was. And I said, well, that inspired me because people were watching. There was a demand for it. They wanted to be like ESPN.
That's right.
And I'm like sitting here going, wow. So that motivated email. I had like emails, 100 emails going, what are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. Well, now guess what? Guess what? The emails are changing the other way. And guess what? In my own way, I become a little bit political because the negatives I turned to positives. Right. And now people are saying, how can we help you make it better? Because you paid your dues because everybody thought you were going to quit doing it.
Well, Stephen, you're doing what, again, I can't say this enough. We as a community, as community leaders like you that have this platform, we've got to tell our story. Because far too often we allow the naysayers, we allow the negativity to cloud our judgment about what our future can really be. And our future really is about our children, and that's the space you live in every day, is inspiring those young people and changing the landscape for each of those children to know that they can be something bigger and better than they are today, and that a positive mental attitude matters. The engagement in community, engagement in sports, these things matter to whether or not we're going to have a positive community down the road. And so I applaud you for having the fortitude, the tenacity, or the key word now that they talk about in personal development is grit, right? Like you had the grit to take all those emails and it wasn't going to deter you. It gave you even more of a determination of. Yeah,
it's similar. It's similar to your story. I mean, and we have a little, here's a similarity, and I'll tell you afterwards. I'm not going to reveal this, okay? But the is. You could have given up. You even said it in your deal. You could have given up. You could have felt sorry for yourself. You could deal, but there's something in your family you brought in, and that's the great thing about the United States, about New Mexico is there are people out there that want people to succeed.
That's right.
It's just learning to know who they are and get behind them.
And we have to tell our story. So that those kids know that they can be part of something bigger and better than they are today. And that's the exciting thing for me. And I talk about this all the time, but we've got to have diversity in our leadership and city government. We've got to have a situation where when people look up at the leaders in our community, they can actually see a reflection of themselves. And that's important because when they look up to see whether they can do something, they're going to look at the current leaders and say, okay, well, that's somebody like me who broke the cycle of poverty. That's somebody like me who didn't have his parents when he was 20 years old, who was an island unto himself. I hope to be, just for a few of those young people, kind of a touchstone to say, the community will stand with me, and I can break the cycle of poverty, and I can be the first in my family to go to college. I don't talk about that story to brag. I actually talk about that story hoping
that's who you are.
It's who I am, and I hope that story helps some young people realize that their current circumstances don't have to dictate where they're going to be tomorrow, and that they have people like you that believe in them. They have their coaches, they have their educators. The newspaper did a great job covering this wonderful event we did at a elementary school in one of our pockets of poverty here in Albuquerque.
Last weekend.
Yeah, you saw it. You don't miss a doggone thing.
Big
right,
time, big.
Think big.
Think big. There you go.
Think big.
Yeah.
Or dream big.
Dream big. Yeah, there you go. Dream big.
Dream big. But Dream Big was the event. We had 3 business leaders bring out a couple Lamborghinis and a Ferrari, and Joe Mays blew up his balloon.
I wanted to throw out Jack B because he loves to get a little bit.
Anybody know Lambo Jack? If you don't know Lambo Jack, he wants you to know him. But let me tell you, he's an incredible entrepreneur, businessman, one of the leading entrepreneurs in technology, not just in New Mexico, but in the Southwest and in the country. He's doing projects coast to coast. Harmonics is really changing the landscape. And he's a philanthropist at heart. He comes from a little community, Peñasco,
in the north, a boxer, a fighter.
Peñasco, he was a world-class Muay Thai fighter, and just a phenomenal dude. But anyway, so
I'm blowing you away on that. I get to do that.
You did pretty good. But we're getting into your sandbox now. That's where you're comfortable, talking about fights and all that. But Lambo brought out his vehicle, and Gabe brought out his Ferrari, and Joe Mays brought out his Lambo, and then Joe blew up his balloon out there, and we had hundreds of kids out on the field. And the whole purpose of that assembly was to say, dream big. Where you are today doesn't have to dictate where you're going to be tomorrow, and that education makes a difference. And you need to have a what do they call them, vision board, right? And say, if you want a Lamborghini someday, you just got to dream it. You got to dream it, because our most powerful thing in our world is our subconscious, and our subconscious. And who speaks to us more than anybody else in the world? Ourselves. We speak to ourselves more than anybody we encounter on any given day. So we got to think
probably
positive.
The biggest judgment is yourself.
And the toughest critic, right? The toughest critic is ourselves. I mean, I'm going to walk out this beautiful studio's doors and I'm going to say, man, I wish I'd told Steve this, or my gosh, I blew that line, or
well, you know what? You didn't blow anything. You say, because we're just having fun.
There you are. There you are. You're still lifting people up, which I appreciate. But our coaches and our teachers and our educators. Anyway, at that Dream Big event, that's what I said. I said, look, I told those kids, I said, make sure you show gratitude to your principal. Make sure you show gratitude to your educators, your teacher that's standing next to you here at this assembly, and thank these businessmen for coming out and believing in you. Because it matters.
You know what? I speak this, and I had this. We all do things, and we don't think we do enough. I mean, that's just who we are and what we do, and it's amazing what the word "thank you" means.
Oh.
I mean, you can put money out there, you can put things out there, and when somebody says, you know what, thank you for what you did, and you're like, I didn't do enough, man. Right. I haven't even hit what I can do, and because I like to give, but I like people to do well, and I like my biggest thing is I want everybody to win.
There you go. There you go. Well, I couldn't agree more. I try and live a life of gratitude. If you take a look at all my posts over the last 10 years. I mean, I was an early adopter to Facebook, and I'm addicted to social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Snapchat, Instagram, I'm on all those. And really, I try and post things that will inspire other people and express my gratitude. Because, like I say, I'm not a likely suspect. I didn't go to fancy schools. I didn't come from wealth and a big community of 14 generations of family members to help support me along the way. I was just myself.
That's what's so great about New Mexico. I'm a guy from Clovis, a little deal. Was a good high school player, and got to go to UNM where I got recruited. And I look back at that, and I'm so thankful that somebody even looked at me to get to play in the pit and to get to come to Albuquerque. And
that's right.
And people had confidence that I could do it.
That attitude of gratitude makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I'm grateful every morning. I set my 2 feet on the floor, and I thank God for giving me the opportunities that I've received. And I try and lead the rest of my day that way. And at the end of the day, I do a daily examination, and I think about what I'm most grateful for, and I think about how I could have done things better or differently, and encourage more people along the way. And that's my day. I begin and end my day with gratitude, and that's just. I mean, I'm a student of all the classics, right? Like Zig Ziglar and W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill and Og Mandino and all the great writers from the time when we were younger. Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements. All these folks, they do have beautiful takeaways, and if you boil them all down, it's about treating each other well, and it's about being grateful. Zig Ziglar, I spent some time with him when I was a kid, and I really fell in love with him and his family. And I will tell you, he used to say, you can have anything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that's one of his favorite expressions. And I kind of crafted it and massaged it and made my own inspirational quote out of it that I taught my son, and he can quote it on an instant. Today, he's 20 years old, and he can tell you exactly what I live my life for and what my moral compass is. And that is, I always say, my success, Steve, in life is going to be directly proportional to the success I help others achieve. My success is always going to be directly proportional to the success I help others achieve. And what does that mean? That means that I've got to be grateful for everything I have, and I got to help as many people along my way as I possibly can. And it's been true. I mean, it's just what Zig taught me so many years ago, but it has absolutely proven to be correct in my life.
Well, Brian, we're going to have to come to a halt, and we, like you said, one thing about the Steve Davis show, we just won't ever get to talk about all the things that we need to really talk about. But it's
well, invite me back, and I'll be here.
And know what? I want you to come back, and I know that this race is going to get more and more intense over the deal, and I'd love to have you come
41
back.
days till the election.
I know.
Look, we got the 1-2 here. Where I want to speak straight to camera.
Right there, just right
straight ahead. Look, there's nothing more important than participating in your government. This election is so important for the future of our city of Albuquerque. I'm going to ask you to elect a leader, somebody you believe that can bring this city together and help us reach our maximum potential, that will say that we were the city, and that this day, this October, we decided that we were going to be the city on the Rio Grande that said we're no longer going to put up with crime in our city, that we're going to push back, and that we're going to build a city that our children can be proud of and make their children be able to raise their families in our beautiful city of Albuquerque. So October 3rd is our election, November 7th is the runoff, and December 1st is the day your next mayor will be sworn into office. I'm grateful for Albuquerque. I'm grateful for you, Steve, and I'm so happy to have been on your show.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
The Steve Davis Show is proudly presented by Dave and Buster's.